All right. Good morning, everyone. We'll now call today's Housing, Urban Development, and Zoning Committee meeting to order. Madam Clerk, can you please call the roll?
Alderman Cone,
Present.
Alderwoman Schweitzer, Alderwoman Sanye, Alderman Browning, Chair Clark Hubbard,
Here.
Alderwoman Sanye. We have 4 present. You have a quorum.
Thank you. With that, I'll accept the motion to approve the minutes from Tuesday, January 9th, 2024. Okay, Madam Clerk, can you please call the roll?
Alderman Cone,
Aye.
Alderwoman Schweitzer, Alderwoman Sanye, Alderman Browning, Chair Clark Hubbard,
Aye.
Alderwoman Sanye. You have 4 aye votes.
All right. With that, we have approved the minutes from Tuesday, January 9th. We will call Alderman Aldridge up for item number 1, Board Bill 129.
Good morning, still, Madam Chair, members of the committee. Today, I come before the HUD's committee to present Board Bill 129. I won't say much. This is the third time being up here and talking about this project, which I think is good. I think there's been a lot of conversations that's been had, a lot of questions that have been answered, and trying to, from committee members, I appreciate the time that you guys have spent with me to try to get to the bottom of what this development is. I will say I also want to thank all people that have been part of these conversations, from residents to the developer as well as to the union. But I want to kind of bring it back. I think part of this conversation has gotten lost. Hey, Alderwoman Sonia, looking good. Part of this conversation has gotten, I wouldn't say lost, it's got stuck in the mud on one thing, and we've kind of lost sight of what the development is. So this is a 10-year tax abatement at 75% that would upgrade the Oyo Hotel, which is 400 South Tucker Street. This tax abatement, again, is for the development of the hotel. And when I say the development of the hotel, that means upgrading the hotel from tuck pointing, upgrading the hotel to better rooms. Currently, right now, I want to say it's the 5th and 6th floor that's kind of out of operation. And what's unique about this hotel, which is not a typical hotel in the city of St. Louis, we do have 79 condo residence owners that live in this building, that have been expressed over and over, that continue to live in this building while we're trying to figure out the politics. They're living in a condition that's deplorable. And they have to go there every single day and continue to live in this deplorable condition and asking for help. If this tax abatement were to go into effect, different from other tax abatements, what would benefit not just the hotel, but the condo owners, but the city as a whole, is the property values of the 79 condo owners' property values going up. So when their property values go up, and they've said it, they're willing to pay more, which I commend them. I don't like to pay more, I like to pay less, but that just shows their, one, dedication. A lot of the residents that live in this building have been living in this building for over a decade. So they've seen the good, they've seen the bad, and what they're asking the Board of Aldermen is not to help them. It's really to help the hotel, but to help them so that their conditions will be better. Like I say, with that, they'll be paying more property values, property taxes. Those property taxes that we know go to our public schools, which I know we have all a big advocate of, even though we can't really do legislation around it. But those property taxes go to our public schools. Those property taxes go to streets, roads, EMT, police, and so many city services that is important. Serving on the budget committee, what we heard this budget session is what is up also in the city of St. Louis is hotel taxes. So by bringing and giving this facelift to this hotel, would also bring in more money for our hotel taxes that are currently up in the city of St. Louis. The rooms are roughly around 50 or 60 bucks. Hopefully, if the development were to go through, we're talking about 100 plus that will cost for people to be able to book out these rooms. The space is very close, as we know, to the Enterprise Center. Is very close to the recent renovated Union Station Hotel, which has the arch. So it is in a prime location for people that want to come into the city, to actually be able to rent out a room, to be able to stay there and to be able to put money back into the city coffers. Right now, not many people stay there. Like I say, the rooms are outdated. They look like they were back in the 70s and 80s. But ultimately, like I said, I want to bring back this conversation about the development. I think there's important conversation that need to be had about unionization, but that is post the development. I know the developer has said, as far as the workers who will be working on this project, or as the development of this project, will be union workers. The developer has been in front of us several times. He's here today if folks want to ask questions, but he's committed and said that the workers that will work in the hotel will be union workers. Once the hotel development is over, I think there's been great relationships set up where the hotel developer and the union that wants to ensure that workers, which I know myself and everybody on this committee, ensure that workers that work in the hotel, which is not part of the development, will also have the ability to join and be part of a union. But again, this project is about ensuring that the development that is happening it not only goes through, but like I say, it doesn't just benefit the city, it benefits current residents that stay in that hotel, which is unique. And I'm still trying to figure out what other hotel there is where you have condo owners that actually stay within the hotel compared to just a straight out hotel. So with that, I will take any questions from the committee.
I'm just going to check and see if anybody has any questions for the sponsor prior to us moving forward with the speakers, or would you rather? Okay, we'll go to the speakers. So just for clarity, anyone in the audience that would like to speak, they need to sign up on the sign-in sheet that's up here by our clerk. And then once we have everyone signed up, what we can do in the interest of time is have everyone raise their hand and be sworn in once together, so that once we get rolling on the speakers, we can move through them. So has everyone signed up? If you haven't signed up, you can go over there and speak. You can't hear me, Mr. Ozier? Okay. Can you hear me now, Mr. Ozier? Okay. So did you want to speak? Because that's the only thing I was making the announcement was to see. Did you want to speak, Miss? You signed up already? Okay. All right, Madam Clerk, can you swear in everyone that?
Do you affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? I can't hear you. Just say it. I do. Okay, thank you.
All right, great. We'll move forward.
The first speaker is John Kahoff. You have 3 minutes, and if you can just state your name and what ward you reside in.
My name is John Kahoff. I'm a representative of the electrical workers. There we go. I thank you for the opportunity to speak this morning. I rise in opposition, and I'll tell you why. I'm empathetic to the residents, and I appreciate the alderman's efforts to renovate this structure. We like to partner with the city in ensuring that these properties are renovated. However, this particular general contractor has asked you for incentives to get this project done. And they've got a demonstrated history with my organization of not paying prevailing economic wages and benefits for electrical workers on their projects. And I present this applicant information here, these selected past developments. The electrical subcontractor chosen for all 3 of these did not pay the hard-won wages and benefits that we have fought for in this city for electrical workers on any one of the projects used in this example. Now they're asking you to incentivize this project, but they're not willing to commit. They want you to commit to them. They're not willing to commit anything back. They're not willing to give a simple neutrality agreement with my Unite Here brothers and sisters, nor are they willing, as they've shown in the past, to pay the prevailing economic wages and benefits for electrical work. Now, I know what they said last time. I'm just telling you, this document proves that it's not true. Thank you for your time.
Madam Clerk, is there a copy of the form that he was just referencing that's available to the committee? Can you provide that to the clerk, please? Madam Chair, if I... Okay, so he's just referencing one of the pages that's in the development report from SLDC. Okay, thank you for the clarification.
Mr. Lou Moy? Here, state your name, what ward, and you're in opposition?
Yes, Lou Moore is my name. I'm in the 12th Ward. Also a member, 60-year member of the United Automobile Workers Union, as well as President Emeritus of the St. Louis CBTU chapter. And I also rise in opposition. I was here the last time, and my concern was the refusal to sign the neutrality agreement. And as we all know, a neutrality agreement is simply a promise made by employers to not interfere with a union organizing campaign of workers. And Madam Chair, and as well as all the committee, I just want to thank all of you for allowing Midas Hospitality more time, giving them more time to reconsider their position on not signing a neutrality agreement with Unite Here, Local 74. But my understanding that position has not changed. So I'm here in opposition and stand in full support of unions. And I did want to mention a quote by Dr. Martin Luther King about concerning unions, the importance of unions as we celebrate his birthday and legacy. In 1961, Dr. Martin Luther King spoke before the AFL-CIO convention and explained why he felt unions were essential to civil rights progress. He stated, "Negroes are almost entirely a working people," he said. "Our needs are identical with labor's needs: decent wages, fair working conditions, livable housing, old age security, health and welfare measures, conditions in which families can grow, have education for their children, and respect in the community." The refusal to sign a neutrality agreement and make a promise not to interfere, in my opinion, is opposition to unions and opposition to clearly the statement that Dr. King just made. Thank you.
Mr. Reggie Johnson? In opposition?
Hello, members. I am Reginald Johnson. I am Vice President of United Here Local 74. And I'm filling in for Kim. She couldn't be here due to illness. So I am here to oppose Board Bill 129. We have tried to reach an agreement with Midas Hospitality regarding neutrality after this hotel project opened. We sit here today with the same letter that I believe you are in receipt of as well. The difference here is that we don't want Midas to just follow the law. We want them to stay neutral if their workers decide to organize. Neutrality is not these things saying we won't retaliate, we won't intimidate, or saying we are a great employer. Neutrality does mean we will let our workers decide if and when the issue come up. We won't hire consultants, We won't have captive audience meetings, and we will not influence our workers by spreading misinformation. The questions here today is, will Midas agree to stay neutral? And HUD's members, we ask, is this too much to ask of an employer asking for a huge tax abatement? That's what we're asking for today. Thank you for your time.
Mr. J. Ozier, opposition.
Yes, my name is James Ozier. I'm a resident of the city of St. Louis, and I'm also president of the St. Louis chapter of the Coalition of Black Trade Unionists. I thank the Alderman and Madam Chairman Hubbard for having this hearing today. We, as residents of the city of St. Louis, we do not need another slum landlord, which it seems to be the situation here. As I mentioned before, I'm a over 70-year resident of the city of St. Louis, and I've not received any financial support from the city of St. Louis in maintaining my own home. So I think that it is very important of what needs to be done here. And one of the very important things is a neutrality agreement, that the owners will not interfere with the workers' right to organize. They're not our boss, they're not our mama, they're not our daddy. And so they need, when we want to gather, they should not be interfering in what we do. So again, I want to express that we should not support any type of legislation that would not include a neutrality agreement and have the workers have their right to organize without interference. And thank you.
Rion Duryea, in opposition.
Good afternoon. My name is Rhiannon Duryea. I'm the executive director for SEIU's Missouri and Kansas State Council. We represent almost 5,000 members who are in the service, who are service workers, healthcare, and public sector workers throughout the city. And we stand in opposition to this ordinance right now and in solidarity with our Unite Here brothers and sisters and siblings. This project cannot move forward without commitments to labor neutrality. I echo a lot of the sentiments that my colleagues have said ahead of me, but I want to emphasize one thing, and that is that organizing a union, organizing your workplace is very often the scariest thing a worker will ever do in life. You are fighting for your rights, fighting for your coworkers' rights, being subjected to isolation meetings, harassment, bullying from your employer very often, and are very often subject to unfair termination. I'm sure you guys have all seen what Starbucks has been doing, for instance, with their workers. But it doesn't have to be like that. Organizing your workplace does not have to be the scariest thing you ever do in your entire life. And you guys have the power to help us move in that direction as a city. We should not be giving a developer millions of dollars without the guarantee that they will treat their workers with the respect and dignity that they deserve and allow them the opportunity to use their voice without facing anti-union intimidation. We ask you to ensure that the benefits of these tax abatements of this development are shared equitably among the stakeholders so that we may foster a community that values both economic prosperity and the well-being of workers. Thank you.
Jamison
In opposition, yes. Good morning, esteemed Chairperson Clark Hubbard and honorable members of this committee. My name is Jameson Ramirez, and I appear to you today as the strategic researcher for SEIU Local 1, speaking on behalf of the almost 2,000 members who are service workers throughout this city, cleaning such notable buildings as Busch Stadium, the Anheuser-Busch Brewery, and the Nestle Purina headquarters building, just down the road from here, to note a few. Local 1 and its members are in opposition to this project moving forward without commitments to a labor neutrality agreement. We urge you to vote no until these commitments are assured. SEIU Local 1 has always been supportive of development, so long as it is responsible development. And what does that mean? It means development that doesn't just support workers when the building is going up, but continues to support workers once the building is fully operational. The problem today is not that workers want to get in the way of residents and their right to improved living conditions. You have that right. Workers want to see building conditions improve because, after all, who wants to work in a building that's falling apart? The problem today is not that residents want to get in the way of workers and their right to improved working conditions. Residents want to see improved working conditions because, after all, who wants to see workers demoralized and struggling to complete the work in the building? No. We will tell you who we think the problem is here today. It's a developer that is pitting workers against residents so they can make more profit at everyone's expense. Responsible development begins when developers respect the right of workers to unionize. Midas Hospitality needs to make that unwavering commitment to respect that right. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Jimmy Lampy? Jimmy Lampy?
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the committee. My name is Jimmy Lappy. I live at 6111 Alabama in the 3rd Ward. I was briefly a member of this committee, so I appreciate the opportunity to be here in person. That never happened when I was here. I just want to state, I know that there are constraints on what this body can do, and we understand those. But I do think that it's very important to make sure that when we are using our public money, that we're using it for the folks who need the most. I'm somebody who got my civic education in union halls because I was lucky enough to be a member of a labor union in an industry where folks don't get a whole lot of respect unless they are members of unions. And I just want to be very, it's so important that people who clean hotel rooms, that people who work in grocery stores, people who do invisible work have representation. And we have, when folks simply follow the narrow letter of the law in terms of union organizing, it's like my sister from SEIU was saying earlier, it's basically impossible for people to get their basic rights. And I know that you all have constraints, I understand that, but we really need to think about the folks in our community who are left behind all too often. Thank you all.
That concludes the members of the public.
All righty, we'll go down with starting in order of seniority. Alderman Cone.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Alderman, will you, do we have representatives from SLDC here as well? I guess they've said everything that they have to say on the matter. No. What's that? We're not supposed to be having a conversation amongst each other. Alderman, thank you.
Bless you.
Again, oh yes, Gesundheit. Thank you
Gesundheit.
for your presentation this morning. I just want to also make sure that we're clear, because a lot of the testimony that's been shared with us this morning and in previous hearings, really revolved around this body requiring a neutrality agreement. Have you had conversations with the city councilor, with SLDC, around a neutrality agreement and inserting that into the legislation? And if so, where have those conversations gone?
Yeah, I haven't talked with SLDC. From my understanding from the city councilor office, it's not in our wheelhouse where we have the authority to basically due to like a vote, say, with neutrality or not neutrality, the way that we can go as a board. Honestly, that isn't, from what I'm hearing, like legally sound, where we can actually force either parties to be in neutrality agreement. What I have done over these last 3-4 months is connect the developer and the union and stayed out of those conversations if legally things happen, so that they can have conversations about what neutrality potentially could look like. Again, for workers that aren't currently there, we're talking about the future of workers being there, which again, I think everybody supports. But without no development, there won't even be workers.
Okay. And I just want to, for the record, make sure that we're very clear about this. There is a state statute. It's State Statute 8.970. Grants, tax abatements, tax credits, or cooperative agreements for construction projects are prohibited. And it goes on to say that the state, any agency of the state, any political subdivision of the state, which would include the city of St. Louis, or any instrumentality thereof, which would include any political subdivisions of the city, taxing jurisdictions of the city, et cetera, shall not issue or award grants, tax abatements, tax credits, or enter into cooperative agreements for construction. And it continues on, for the political subdivision or any instrumentality thereof shall exercise such authority as may be required to preclude a cooperative agreement from imposing any of the elements specified in section 8.968, which goes on to say that it would require the political subdivision or instrumentality do not, and this is where this particular subject matter comes into place, require or prohibit any bidders, offers, contractors, subcontractors to enter into or adhere to agreements with one or more labor organizations on the same or related projects. And so it is state law, unfortunately. Obviously, I think most of the members of this body do not support that law, but unfortunately, it is the law of the state that the city has to abide by. That we can't amend this legislation to require that type of an agreement in place. And so where the conversation shifted during some of these discussions, deliberations amongst this body, was directly trying to have representatives from community groups work with the developer on some sort of mutual understanding and agreement. And I think, at the last hearing that we had, if my memory serves, the developer did mention, and it might not have been the past hearing, it could have been the hearing before, but, one of the examples that was thrown out by our friends in the labor organizations has been, I think it was the Lachlan Group who hired folks to come in and basically fight organizing efforts at the Union Station Hotel. And then, this particular, developer said that they would not do that. They said that under oath, that they would, not fight any organizing efforts that happened there. So I want to, and I know that there's been some email exchanges, some letters that have been sent back and forth between labor organizations and the developer. And so I see the developer is here. Would you mind coming to the podium to answer a few questions for me?
Sure. David Robert.
I think he needs to be sworn in, Madam Clerk.
I did. I raised my hand at the beginning. Unless I need to do it again, I can.
Yeah, could we just, I don't think I saw you raise your hand earlier, so I just want to make
Do
sure.
you affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Robert, thank you again for being here this morning. I know that this is, not always a pleasant process to go through for folks on both sides of any issue that comes before this body. Community processes are difficult. They're designed intentionally to be so that, we can try to come to reasonable conclusions of business. But so some of the things that I believe that you've already stated, previously, I just want to reaffirm those. And if I'm incorrect, if you could please, correct the record, I would appreciate it. But you have stated that you would pay prevailing wage on the construction project.
Correct.
Or the project itself.
Correct.
And that you would not hinder any type of organizing efforts at the hotel once the project is complete, which would include paying consultants to come in and fight any organizing efforts for your employees. Is that correct?
Correct.
And then also, you've mentioned in I think the email that you sent to Ms. Bartholomew, who's not here today, that you all would pay decent wages, benefits, and things of that nature to the hotel employees that are employed by the hotel, the Sheraton, I believe it's supposed to be.
Yeah, our wages are actually at or above union scale today. So we would be at or above union scale.
And that's for all hotel employees, not just manager level?
No, that's line level also.
Line level.
I was referring to line level employees.
Okay, thank you. So I do want to make sure that we're clear about that and just the expectations that this body has with respect to the project and the operations, once any project is completed here. And I know you already do business in the city of St. Louis. You plan to do business in the city of St. Louis. And so I think myself and other members of this committee will have a watchful eye towards your endeavors here with this project, certainly as it relates to your trustworthiness, which I'm not trying to question that in this moment, but certainly as this process unfolds, we would certainly have the expectation that you would adhere to what you've shared with us today, and I would presume that you would say the same.
I'm fine with you looking over us. We're not trying to hide anything. We're not trying to do anything wrong. We're just trying to do something positive for the city.
Great.
This building needs to be addressed. We're trying to do that.
Okay. And you and I know there a representative from SLDC just walked through the door. So I'm actually going to reserve the second half of my comments for them because I know at the previous committee hearing I brought this up, but this is somewhat like the second or third bite at the apple with respect to incentives for this project. So as the developer, oftentimes I think the question that gets missed in these conversations is what people often call the but-for clause,
Right.
Meaning that if the incentives were not provided, that the project would not happen. Can you maybe just testify to that?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I mean, we only asked for what we needed. If we don't get the abatement, then we're gonna punt on the project. We didn't ask for any other incentives other than this, and this is what we need in order to get the project to the finish line.
Okay. And then I know I asked you this before, so I'm going to just ask again. The OYO hotel that's there now, how many hotel employees are currently there? Are you aware?
It's 10 or 15.
And then how many hotel employees would be there?
There'll be probably 100 when we're done.
Okay, so a tenfold increase on the number of employees that would be able to organize, at a later point in time. Thank you. I appreciate
Thank you.
testimony. Could I, Madam Chair, inquire of SLDC? Mr. Wilson, Also a Third Ward resident, I might add,
By a block, yes.
by a block.
Yes.
Counts. So, Zach, could you just help with the development report, the scoring process here, and then, with respect to the prevailing wage and other items that have been a concern of the committee, the enforcement mechanisms that SLDC has in place to address
Correct,
those?
yeah. The list of just past developments, just a list. I know a couple of these have received incentives, but I believe one or two of them was before the prevailing wage ordinance came in effect. So our office, headed up by Marla Roach, takes our compliance very seriously. No abatement, no incentives activated unless those things are approved. And we got a final sign off by that department for prevailing wage and minority compliance.
So with respect to this particular project, though, what would be the enforcement mechanism and the compliance? How does SLDC ensure that that happens?
They have weekly meetings or bi-weekly meetings with the GC. So they monitor that through the whole construction process. If they don't see any good faith, we do not activate the incentive.
Okay. And then, so in the event that they are not operating in good faith or complying, what happens?
No incentive.
And if the incentive has already been granted or a portion of it has been granted, what happens?
The incentives, this board bill just allows for incentives. SLDC activates that incentive. So we don't think there's good faith. The activation does not occur.
But if the activation has already occurred?
There is no activation until the work is complete and we get final sign off for minor compliance.
Great. Okay. Thank you for the clarification. With respect to the incentive itself, so this is being recommended for 10 years at 75%.
Correct.
That's in accordance with the guidelines that we've put in place for incentives in general?
Yes.
For that geographic area?
Correct.
Would it be eligible for more, or is this the maximum that it's eligible?
I think the score points, you could get more, but with the financial analysis, we lowered down to 10 at 75. So.
Okay. And then have you had any conversations with respect to any previous compliance issues with this person?
No, nothing has been raised on that point.
Okay. I think that's all the questions that I have for you, Zach. Taking it easy on you.
Thank you, Alderman.
Thank you for calling the Third Ward home. Appreciate it. So, Alderman, again, I know that this is a very sticky situation. I think I looked many of the residents, your constituents, in the eye the last committee hearing and told them, kind of but for your pleas and whatnot. Like, this is for me, not just an issue of the labor component, but the incentive process that we have in the city of St. Louis. This is a building that has already had incentives. It's been rolling off. But this is a very unique situation in the city of St. Louis, given the 80 some odd residents, roughly, that live there as well. And so, I want to make sure that they understand that, those pleas aren't going on deaf ears. I think we talk a lot about quality housing down here at the Board of Aldermen, and continue to do so. And no matter, what your stage of life is, your socioeconomic status, your background, everyone should be afforded, quality housing in the city of St. Louis. And certainly, I don't think that this is an exception. And I think that this committee, this body, is doing its best to ensure that we are, providing opportunities for, our friends in the labor community to organize and to do the work and make sure that they have, supportive wages and supportive policies around them, and will continue to do so. But we need to also look at the kind of fact of the matter and where we are today. And, so I just want to make sure that, your kind of sticky situation is acknowledged, because it's not an easy predicament to be in. And I know that this has been a lot of work on your part. And, you've got a lot of personal obligations at the moment, especially with your mom. And hoping all the best in that situation as well. But I want to make sure that it's acknowledged the amount of work that you've put into this as well, and certainly appreciate you trying to convene as many people from both sides to have those conversations and work through these issues. So thank you.
Alderwoman Spicer.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thanks to everyone who came today and who's come so many times over the last few months to talk with us about this bill and your thoughts on it and incentives in general and just all the information that's been provided. I really appreciate everyone's input and time. I know it's not always easy to get to City Hall and be here all day talking to us. So I do want to also thank Alderman Lappy, if he's still here. I always enjoy hearing his point of view on things. When he was an alder person, it was just somebody I always really listened to and really highly respect. So I appreciate you coming and sharing your thoughts as well. Alderman Cone, my goodness, as usual, has asked a lot of the questions that I wanted to ask. He's really good at that, and I appreciate his seniority and the time that he takes to really know the laws inside and out. I do think that there have been some strides, as Alderman Cone stated, in the types of requirements that come with incentives, including prevailing wage, which is really important. These incentives do last a number of years longer than the construction, of course. So when we think about prevailing wage, we need to be thinking about prevailing wage that all the workers who are at the hotel or any development are receiving, because they're still receiving the development. So that is something that I think is really important, and it sounds like it's been confirmed that that's what's expected of the developer. And I think it's been confirmed also that that's what the developer says they're doing. And so I have a few more questions for a few more folks. And I'll start, if it's all right, with Mr. Wilson from SLDC.
Yes.
Thank you so much for being here and for you have a lot on your plate and a lot going on. So thanks for being here. One of the things that we talked about in the break is the report that was generated by SLDC regarding just downtown hotels and incentives. And I read that report, and it sounded like that from what that said, that hotels in the downtown area would just be expecting subsidies. Like that is what is pretty much going to be needed when there's a hotel downtown.
Correct.
That was
yes.
like the first line of, okay,
Yes.
if you were to summarize what it was saying.
Yes.
And then some of the ones that they especially focused on were the luxury or lifestyle brands, is that correct?
Correct, yes.
Okay, and would you say that this hotel is a luxury or lifestyle brand, what they're saying they're bringing?
I'm not in the hotel business, so I can't.
Okay, but when you're thinking about, judging the project, you're probably using the reports that you've generated and
Correct.
identifying whether you think a project meets the conditions.
Very much so. In the report, this hotel was a Red Lion. So if you look in the report, you can notice it mentions Red Lion, and that means that we're not adding hotel rooms. We're just improving the current hotel rooms in the report. So.
And that's something that
we definitely need to happen.
Okay. I appreciate that. Okay, thank you. I think every other question was answered. I guess when you say that before you grant the incentive, you check on prevailing wage, do you check for all the workers in the project?
No, by ordinance, it's just construction workers.
Interesting. Okay.
We follow all ordinances that is established by this board. So
that's something that this body, maybe it's better to ask someone on the body, could change.
Correct, in the future, yes.
Okay, I think that's really interesting. Okay, thank you so much for your time and for answering my questions. Okay. Mr. Roberts, are you available? Thank you. Thank you for being here, and thank you for answering my questions and for responding and CCing us on everything, keeping us in the loop. I really appreciate it.
Appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you. So the projects in which you've received incentives from the city when there's been a prevailing wage ordinance, have you had a project when there's been a prevailing wage ordinance receive funds from the city, or tax incentives rather?
We've had two projects in the city, hotel projects that had subsidy, and so there was prevailing wage requirements, and we met both those requirements. SLDC monitored the project, and we were blessed at the end, and so we were able to receive the abatement.
Okay, great. That is good to know, and that can be verified by what SLDC commented, that they didn't have any red flags come up when they were doing their review. Great. So one of the things that we talked about just earlier is that there are maybe 15 workers at the hotel now. What is your process if you were to come into that hotel and take over ownership? Would you be approaching these folks to make sure that they were able to interview with Midas to potentially have a job with you at another hotel? I mean, these are people who.
Yeah. So this hotel, in order to do much work, it will be closed down for a while, right? So our plan is to offer all the employees positions at other hotels of ours, so that they have a place to go, so that when the renovation is finished, then they could come back.
Okay, that's great. I hope that happens. We just recently passed an ordinance in the city of St. Louis that for our contractors, we have to offer them jobs if their contractors have to offer jobs if the ordinance changes. So I'm just interested in how that happens in the private industry now, and I'm glad to hear that that's what you'll be doing that.
Understood. Yep.
Okay, awesome. So I think one of the things that's great about technology today is we can rewatch these hearings as many times as we want, and we can also listen to them at double speed, which I recommend if that's not how you listen to us already. It's way faster. So one of the things we did is we asked a lot about neutrality and what you plan on doing. Of course, it's not in the bill, and we can't demand that you sign something to determine whether or not we vote for your project. We can talk to you about your plans for your workers and how you plan to move forward as an employer of people. So last in December 12th, I asked you, would you be able to say that you intend to stay neutral? And you said, I am not going to stand in the way of what my associates want, and there are federal and state laws to ensure that happens. I've never stood in the way. And I think that's a really, I like everything that you just said there, or December 12th that you said. I do think that standing in the way of something and staying neutral are similar, or not retaliating is like a step of being neutral, but it's not the same as gently dissuading your workers, or any sort of involvement, verbal, written communication from you that says don't do this. Is that what, and I know Alderman Cohn asked a great series of questions. Do you also mean that when you say that you will not do those sort of things?
Yeah, I'm not trying to influence my workers. That's not what this is about. I do, there's a difference. A neutrality agreement is pretty lengthy and has a lot of requirements in it that we don't really honestly think are necessary. And I can be neutral, but I also, if an employee of mine asks questions, I'm going to answer their questions, right? I mean, I have a very good rapport with my employees, and if they ask me a question, I'm going to answer the question. That to me, I can still be, I'm not playing sides. I am just answering their question. If they come up to me and say, is this true? I'm going to tell them what the truth is. That's just the way it is. So I have no intention of getting in the way. To me, signing any agreement today starts the wheels rolling towards a union agreement. And it isn't up to me to decide if the employees should be union or not. It should be up to those future employees for them to decide. And if they choose to decide to be union, then they'll be union, all right? But it shouldn't be up to me or the union today or anyone to decide for them in the future their destiny. So that's really all that's kind of my position on it.
I
So,
understand. And you started with what you just said with I can,
Yeah.
that's the summary.
Yes, yes, ma'am.
Okay. I just think that, sometimes we, we kind of keep talking and it is, can become less clear, sometimes the more we say. And that's
Okay.
probably a good lesson for aldermen as well, because we tend to talk. So I appreciate all of that. And just to confirm again, you pay all workers in your hotels and who are cleaning, who are janitorial staff at or above prevailing wage.
We're above union scale today.
Okay, that's good news. Okay. Thank you. I really appreciate it. I appreciate your time. You're done asking you questions, and thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Alderman Aldridge, thanks for coming and being here today. I know you've talked a lot about this project and about this bill, and I appreciate always being willing to talk about it. One of the things that happens with these sorts of bills is every time you think about it, you have a stomach ache because there are so many really good points. And one of the things we're challenged with sitting on this side of the table is to make a decision. And neutrality in the workplace, I agree with, but being neutral here, I don't always agree with. I think people should say yes or no. And sometimes when you say yes or no, you might be 51% yes, 49% no, but that's a yes. That's how it works. So I appreciate that and how generous you've been with your time as we hard decisions today. Thank you.
Alderman Browning.
Thank you, and thank you to my colleagues, especially Alderman Cohn, who took the time to dig into this and figure out what we can and can't do here on this committee. I think my colleague Alderwoman Schweitzer said it really well, is that we're put in these situations where, yeah, sometimes it's a 51% yes, and that is the nature of the job. It's why we're here, and that's probably the most difficult thing. It's not going to feel good doing it. It's not going to feel good afterwards. But we have to acknowledge that we are constricted both by Missouri law and by the different needs of our city. I see over here on my right, you guys sort yourselves so well. Over here on my right, we have a bunch of people who live in our city and have lived in our city for a long time, and who are right now trapped in condos that are, I imagine, depreciating, imagine difficult to sell. You've got a pool above you that is leaking, as I understand it. That sounds like a nightmare scenario. And I drive by this building every day. I've watched it go downhill. You can go back on Google Street View and know how to rewind. You can actually watch this building deteriorate rather rapidly. And we can all agree it's one of the most beautiful buildings that we have downtown. The mural is, unique and unlike anything else we see in other cities. I guess this is my long way of saying there's no doubt that this project needs to happen. And as far as our city goes, we have to, according to the analysis we've gotten from SLDC, according to the developer's own statements, we need to provide an incentive package to make this happen. On the other side, we have workers. We have workers who, again and again, are told, sorry, we can't help. Sorry, we can't get this done for you. You're on your own. You have to fight for this. And a state that is, frankly, incredibly hostile. It's not just that we have to stay neutral or that the state isn't in favor of you. It's almost that they're against you in everything you're trying to do. That state also governs us in what we're able to do. And so since we cannot put neutrality into the board bill today, if we could, I certainly would want to. But since we cannot do that, we have to make a decision here, and we have to make it based on the information that we have. I want to compliment Alderman Aldridge for really doing a fantastic job of making sure that we have all the facts here, making sure that we're talking to all the parties involved. Again, this is not the easy decision to make, but I think what we're looking at here is a situation where we need to take the developer at his word. I think
we've got a unique situation where the developer is also the operator of the hotel, and that is not the condition in a lot of the decisions we make on this board. So lots of things at play here, and I think you've handled them all incredibly well, especially considering just everything that you've been through in the last couple months. So compliments to you. Is it Roberts or Roberts? Robert. Thank you. If you if you wouldn't mind, just to have a couple questions for you. First of all, apologies if we've mispronounced your name. You sent us a letter on January 12th. I think you sent it to both Kim Bartholomew and Unite Here Local 74, as well as copying the members of this committee. You stated, as I've said publicly and under oath, Midas will treat our staff with respect, provide competitive wages at or above prevailing wage, provide a positive work environment that is free of retaliation and intimidation, and will not punish workers if they attempt to unionize, and agree to all applicable laws and regulations. Do you still stand by that letter?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. I think your company's history is not in question here. I think that you are taking on a difficult project, and I appreciate you taking that on. You seem to be interested in doing right by your workers. I hope this has been a learning experience for you too, as you've gone through this process and hearing from people and their concerns about neutrality. So going forward, all I can say is that we will be, paying attention, not just me, but all the people here and all the people over here. We will be paying attention, making sure that you're, walking that path forward. But I do appreciate you taking the time to be here today and to go through all this. And, I appreciate you taking the time to lay out exactly what you're committed to, and hope that you'll keep your word there.
Thank you.
All right, with that, I have no more questions. Thank you.
Vice Chair Sanye.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the committee. I don't want to go on and on, so I just want to echo my colleagues' thoughts on just thanking all of you all who have showed up today for for this vote. I know it's our jobs, but you all probably have many other things that you be doing, and I always take that to heart from wherever you're coming from. That I know we have many things we're juggling. Alderman Aldridge, the same thing. I think you always go above and beyond. I think you always do an excellent job on your legislation, on bills, and I have not seen that waver, no matter what I know that you may be going through personally. So I also want to for your leadership and your work in that regard. And then I also just want to thank you. I did get a chance to talk to you in depth about this and get a chance to see some of the conditions that your constituents are living in. And I know you guys spoke about it at the podiums and talked about it here, but kind of getting to see it in real time was, quite something. So just thank you for uplifting that and making that be something that became then a priority of mine to see. I think for me, this kind of just highlights the needs for us to figure out as a board what we can do. If it is not exactly, we can't exactly waiver in neutrality agreements, what are all of our abilities to ensure that we are doing everything we can to incentivize supporting our constituents, mobilizing and unionizing if that's what they would choose to do. So I just want to thank all of the parties involved for kind of showing up and continuing to show up in a fierce spirit of advocacy. That's what I love about St. Louis, and the residents. I think that this is the best of what our city has, and I know that I think these conversations are important, and especially when they get challenging and getting hard, that usually means we're talking about something that we really need to be talking about. So I just want to thank you all for this and thank the involved parties.
Does anyone have any additional comments? All right, Alderman Aldridge, you're welcome to close.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and members of the committee. I do greatly appreciate members of this committee. As a new alder, this has been a learning experience. First, huge tax abatement bill, and a very unique one. As we've said, it isn't just a full-out tax abatement that workers would be involved in, either on the construction or post that. But we also have, again, residents that have been staying there for over a decade that while we can argue all day or be on one side or the other, these residents at the end of the day have to walk back over across the street and live in those conditions that they have been living in for a long time. So I thank all the members on this committee because you guys have challenged me, which is good at this board. You all have also helped me learn more about this project, learn about the process, and to be able to deliver as much as possible, at least what I can. I want to thank the residents for constantly coming over and over to this board to hear what's going on and fighting for a better quality of life for yourselves. It's easy to talk about a project, especially when we don't have to live there, but you guys are living there and have been living there, have stake in the game, want your property taxes to go up, so that could help the city. But after inviting me into your homes, many of the condos, and seeing not just the condo side, but the hotel side, I appreciate that because it was able for me to get a better understanding of the dire need of this development. I also want to thank the unions as well. I've been having countless calls with Kim at Unite here and all of the SEIU residents and representatives and just all the different unions about this project. There is not one member at this board, including myself, with this project has not thought about the workers and has not tried to figure out what can we legally do. As an alderman has read from a state statute, what we legally can do to try to put pressure on the developer. And I've had countless conversations with Mr. David and his team and let him know where I stand, my history with supporting labor, and the understanding that outside of the construction jobs, there would be prevailing wage, that we will be watching to ensure that the workers, again, that will hopefully be coming in the future, will have the ability, if they want to become union. And I do also want to thank the developer for taking the time to try to upgrade as Alderman Browning said, a much needed gym in the city of St. Louis. I know this would just not be a benefit to the city. It'll be a benefit to the residents. It'll be a benefit to the future workers. And I think over these last 3 meetings, I think I've said enough, cried once and no tears today, but I do appreciate all entities that have been part of this conversation. I don't think this is the end. I think this is just a start. And also I want to thank my committee members for during this process, working with me to try to make sure we get as many of y'all answers answered. So with that, Madam Chair, I close and I would ask for a due pass recommendation.
All right, with that, I'll accept the motion for Board Bill 129.
I make a motion that we pass Board Bill 129 with the due pass recommendation.
Alderman Cone. Alderwoman Schweitzer. Alderwoman Sanye. Alderman Browning. Chair Clark Hubbard.
Aye.
We have 5 aye votes.
All right, with that, congratulations. You have passed Board Bill 129 out of committee. Just for clarity, let's have a little discussion because I know in moving forward here in the city of St. Louis, this is our opportunity, right, to come together on, unfortunately, what my colleague Alderman Browning mentioned is that this room is divided, and that's what sometimes conversations do like this, is cause division. But if we want to move forward as a city, we have to come together with honesty, with facts, and be able to get things done, or else we create ongoing, not only division, but obstruction to the real progress here in the city of St. Louis. So this, for people that are watching, this was a step forward in Board Bill 129. Now it escalates to the full board. It'll be on the full board next week. It'll be on a third reading calendar. And so stay abreast of it. Like our colleague said, we're going to be paying attention to hold people accountable to not only the things that they said here at the podium and in the past 3 meetings, but also the things that they do. Their actions always speak louder than countless words that we hear here, especially words that sometimes, unfortunately, are said to create confusion. So with that, I'm going to make sure that we follow through with this agenda, and then I'm sure if anyone has any questions for us afterwards, that we will make ourselves available. Do we have any resolutions for review?
We have none.
All right. Any additional committee discussions that anyone wants to share? I definitely want to announce for the viewers watching that one of the things I heard from a very extremely valuable person been working in the city of St. Louis for over 30 years in our a very valuable also department. I'll keep her nameless, but she said that one of the things that she knows when she goes around to pull things back to the city to keep our city moving forward is the cranes in the sky. And we know the cranes in the sky is part of the tool we have here in the HUD's committee to produce. But one of the other things that I think shows progress in the city is people moving into the city, housing development, real affordable housing, and making sure our neighborhoods are being built back up. So I would be remiss if I didn't announce that today there is a free webinar going on that's given by SLDC, I think the Economic Empowerment Center, our Northside Economic Empowerment Center, and it's online. I'm trying to find the information on it, but I think it would be good that we share that information with our constituency, share the information we hear. If you're interested in becoming a homeowner here in the city of St. Louis, this is a free webinar to prepare you for that process. And again, thank you. Thank you. It's today from 6 to 7:30, and you can register for that. It's a Zoom, so it's a home buyer's assistance powered by SLDC. So make sure you share that information, home buyer readiness, so that we can build our constituencies and bring people back to this beloved city that we all care so deeply about. Any written testimony? Okay. And any additional announcements from my colleague? All right, with that, I'll accept the motion for adjourn. All right. Previous roll. Everyone have a blessed day.